the best part about it is that they're just going about handling their business. I was listening to Arvell Reese is literally like 5-word sentences about himself and some of the things that Caleb has been talking about. The dudes are just so locked in here about just doing their job and not worrying about all the other things and awards. They know all those happen when you go win and you win decisively.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Baker Mayfield is the most important player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are in first place right now, looking dead in the eye of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They played a bad division. They're going to win a lot of games, and they're the best fourth quarter team, or at least the 2-minute warning team in all football. So, don't sleep on that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Awesome and monumentous win against Oregon. Texas has saved their season. Texas has given themselves life to potentially crash the college football playoff party. For OU, a loss to Texas shouldn't be the end of your season. And yet with that remaining schedule, it feels like it could be. Books certainly pricing it that way. A lot of movement off of the Red River rivalry.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin? Who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim, only on Sport.
Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Football back on the menu tonight. And, of course, Major League Baseball's postseason rolls on. American League Championship Series, National League Championship Series, and very interesting result last night, which we will get to on the show today. We got Brad Thomas. He's going to preview the latest in the NFL. Brady Cannon, of course, go over all of his picks. Donnie Rightside is in the house. And then are you ready for another week of college football against the spread? Paul Stone of Paul Stone Sports makes his weekly appearance with us here on Thursday. And we'll also discuss the latest in sports betting as well. And that's where we lead off today with the prediction market business, as we've discussed so many times, it feels like, here on the show. Those of you unfamiliar, there are companies called Kalshi and Robinhood that are offering options on sports and outcomes. They've decided they're not sports betting. States around the country have decided they are sports betting, and another state regulator is letting its licenses know take care of it when it comes to prediction markets. Nevada Gaming Control Board Chair Mike Dreitzer authorized a memo to licensees posting Wednesday with the ominous title of Sports Event Contract R Wagers. So it looks like the state of Nevada is not on board with these prediction markets. And why are they not on board with allowing them to operate? Because they don't pay taxes and they're not legal in the states where sports betting is illegal. Story continues, but those of you who want to play on Kalshi, want to play on Robinhood for the time being, you still can. Meanwhile, Prize Picks announced an imminent return to New York. Of course, they were out of New York in 2024. Daily Fantasy Sports Company has been awarded an interactive fantasy sports operating license by the New York State Gaming Commission. Prize Picks, of course, is peer-to-peer DFS, Daily Fantasy. They stopped operating at the beginning of 2024. Well, the Seattle Mariners pitching was not operating at all last night. 7 different Blue Jays had RBIs. This was the George Kirby start that you wouldn't have expected. 13-4. Toronto ends up picking up the win. So this win was in Seattle. If you're keeping score at home, Seattle won the first 2 games in Canada. And then now Toronto wins in Seattle. So maybe that's just the dynamic of the series. The home team not going to win. I don't know. We'll see. They will play game 4 today. There's George Springer. Of course, he got off to a good start. Vladimir Guerrero, of course, homered. John Schneider talked about the offensive explosion last night.
Hey, John, at least for now, does the Andres home run have the feeling of a series-changing home run for you guys?
It's a big swing, I think Yeah. I mean, again, we're focused on tonight, and tomorrow we'll focus on tomorrow. But, yeah, I think just kind of, I said it during the game, kind of in that situation, runner at second, nobody out, taking a shot, and trying to be aggressive on Kirby's fastball. So you never know how the game's going to go. You never know who it's going to be, right? But really, really big swing to get us going, and then kind of on down the line that inning. But yeah, man, that was a big swing from Andres.
Obviously, it was an unfortunate start, but I came to the dugout and told the guys, like, pick me up. Like, I got good stuff tonight, and they definitely listened and picked me up in a huge way. Was able to go back out there in that second inning and kind of reestablish what I wanted to do. And so I felt like even though we were down, we were able to grab some momentum, and this game is so much momentum based. And so we didn't really look back after that. So it was awesome.
Meanwhile, Dan Wilson being questioned, of course, on the pitching, and specifically George Kirby, who was left in to give up several runs. Here's Wilson, the manager of the Mariners, talking about keeping Kirby in.
Dan, obviously not what you wanted to see from George. Can you walk us through what you were seeing from him, and when did you think you needed to pull the string on it, and do you regret not going earlier?
I think, I thought it came out one of the best fastballs we've seen the first couple innings. I thought the way it was coming out of his hand, he looked great. And then, they were able to get to some pitches on the plate a little bit and in that third inning. And then, it was, I think it was 4 2-out runs there at that point, and trying to, get him through that and because he was throwing the ball so well. This is a team that has swung the bat well all year, and they didn't miss much tonight, and they were able to get to him.
Game 4 will be this evening, 8:33 Eastern, so you're going to have to pick either football or baseball to watch tonight. And by the way, how about the starter for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight? Very familiar with the postseason. Washington Nationals World Series champion, although he played on the Mets after that and the Rangers after that, and he moved around. Max Scherzer gets the start tonight. He's plus money, plus 118. Luis Castillo clearly the better pitcher over the course of the regular season, and Scherzer hasn't been all that healthy the last few years, but Scherzer starts tonight. Should be a fun watch. Meanwhile, Brewers take on the Dodgers tonight as well. This is a 6:08 Eastern time game with the Dodgers monster favorites. Brewers haven't decided who's going to start yet. There's some speculation. It could be Jacob Mizorowski. Tyler Glasnow starts for the Dodgers, and the Brewers are in the same position that the Blue Jays were in yesterday. They have to win this game, or they go down 0-3. They're not going to win the series. Okay, tonight it is the battle of the old men quarterbacks as Aaron Rodgers takes on Joe Flacco. That's the backdrop, and expect to see a lot of that on Amazon Prime tonight. Steelers minus 5.5 on the road at Cincinnati. Total of 44.5. Steelers are playing great football. Bengals aren't winning any games. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback, but you never know. Last Thursday, Rams took on the 49ers. Rams were at home. 49ers had no one. 49ers win the game. It's the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa is back in the news again. My gosh, every day, something that he says. Well, I guess he recognized that he probably shouldn't have called out his teammates talking about team meetings immediately after a game. He apologized yesterday in front of the media.
They know my heart. They know that the intent was right. But no matter the intent, the intent can be right. But when things get misconstrued or however the media wants to portray it, that leaves a void of silence and a lot of questions for the guys on our team. Now, being 1-5, we talk a lot about, all right, we got to get this going. We got to get this going. Come in excited to go to work. Forget about the noise. And I feel like I just added on to that for our guys. For myself, I got to look at myself as the leader, protecting the team. I don't feel like I did that to the best of my abilities. I felt like I let the emotions of the game get to me after the game. And, that's something that I can learn from as a leader on this team. And what happens in-house should be protected. And none of that should have gotten out. And so want to publicly apologize about that, want to move forward, and now want to focus on the Cleveland Browns.
Good that he blamed the media there for all of that, as if the media perpetrated him saying that after the game on Sunday. Okay. J.J. McCarthy is probably not going to play. It looks this week like there's another start coming for Carson Wentz. His ankle not 100%. The Vikings are back after the bye week. No firm decisions made, but the coach and the quarterback talked about the possibility yesterday.
Where do things stand as far as your starting QB for Sunday, Kevin?
They stand in the same place they did Monday when I answered that question.
How would you handle it in practice in terms of reps and between Carson and JJ?
Yeah, they're both going to get work, both going to get reps, and very much looking forward to our whole team getting back out there.
It's really hard to say if they slipped just because my ankle isn't 100%. So it's like, you're battling that mental hurdle, you're battling, how inhibited am I to perform this certain movement. So it's really hard to say if it's slipped or not, but it's one of those things where it's just a seesaw for the rest of your career. So it's going to be fine tuning regardless of, how well you perform or how well you don't. So.
Meanwhile, the surface has come under some fire in Pittsburgh. Players expressing that they got to get that stadium fixed, the turf fixed. We've heard this for years. Nothing's going to change in Pittsburgh. They got a college game this week, too. All right, LeBron James expected to return around mid-November. It was diagnosed initially, I think, with sciatica. That's like a nerve issue, so he's going to be out probably for approximately a month. Jason Kidd hasn't quite said what's going to happen with their first overall pick, Cooper Flagg. We'll see. Also, the Kings signed Keegan Murray, 5 years, $140 million. NBA season begins next week. We'll take a quick time out here on NewsWire. We come back next. Brad Thomas is with us. He's got the prop market figured out. Sort of. Do we ever? We'll have it next. Let's do AJ Brown. He's seems to be kind of upset with the way things are going. The Eagles will trade AJ Brown at some point this season, buy or sell.
This is what really annoys fans about certain players. Don't you care about winning? All right, he played last year, won a Super Bowl, right? He's reading books, and he's blah blah blah. He's complaining this year too, and he was complaining while they were winning. Yeah, of course they lost last night to the Giants there, but he had 6 catches, 80 yards, and then I think I heard him come out and say, I don't remember having an offensive meeting with Hurts and Barkley, even though it was reported that they did have a meeting. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but if they did have a meeting and he's saying he doesn't, what is going on here? Do you really want to be traded? I mean, grass isn't always greener. They're not going to trade you to a good team, right? You're certainly not going to Detroit, or San Francisco. They're not going to trade you to anybody in their own conference that's good, that could compete with them. So just strange. Do I think he's going to be traded? No. They've come out and said he won't be traded, but that, who cares? That could just be to drive the price up if they really wanted to move him. So I'm going to sell this, but, if he really wants to be dealt, he can make life hard, keep complaining, keep doing this and that, embarrassing everybody, but really strange situation what's going on in Philadelphia. You won a Super Bowl, you'd think you'd be happy for a little bit.
I think that, I don't know, would they do this deal? I think Howie Roseman is not adverse to making deals, but George, wouldn't they have to acquire somebody like AJ Brown to make this kind of trade? I'm going to say sell. I think he's going to stick it out with the team. I think they're going to move him in the offseason. I think they're going to move him.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Brad Thomas is with us for the latest in the prop market and also talks about tonight's game as well. I'm sure he's getting ready for Thursday night football where two quarterbacks closest in age to me are going to face off. So I feel pretty good about that. Like the last men standing, Brad. I'm getting old. They're getting old too. Steelers and Bengals, Aaron Rodgers, and certainly the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Flacco, have their work cut out for them. And I see a total here of 44.5. A little strange to me considering these Thursday games usually are duds. But, here's what we've seen, Brad, last few weeks. Major upset Thursday, major upset Sunday. Major upsets. So, well, not major upset. Chiefs were favored Sunday night. 2 upsets on Monday. So, I mean, is this where we're headed in the NFL? I mean, this is basically how the NFL has been for years, with the exception of last year. Last year, all the favorites were winning. It feels like we're back to what the NFL usually is parity. So if that's the case, is it the Bengals tonight?
Right? It kind of feels like it. It was like the first 3 weeks of the season, all the favorites were cashing. Now the underdogs are catching up. Prime time home dog feels absolutely wild not to take the Bengals, but I just can't get there. Their defensive line's not getting pressure. They're not good on the back end. Their offensive line is struggling, and they have an immobile quarterback. But I'm also not that excited about the Pittsburgh Steelers either. Their offense is not as good as it should be. I was pulling a funny stat where the Pittsburgh Steelers run a lot of 12 personnel. They're like 29th in the NFL and EPA per play out of 12 personnel, and a lot of that has to do with the running game. But that kind of segues into I think this is going to be an under game where both teams are running the ball a ton.
I think tonight, for me, as I'm looking at the props here, just trying to update it here, it looks to me like the mover is Noah Fant here, because maybe Gesicki is out. Maybe that's the reason why his prop has jumped up a little bit. I see Chase, who's pretty standard at the low number here at 73, but down from the 80s and 90s last season. Metcalf 64.5, T. Higgins 45.5, and there's the Fant number there. I was trying to figure out why Fant's number is rising, and I guess it's the Gesicki injury, although I don't know that I really love that number either. All right, what do you got for props here tonight's game?
Yeah, I just want to touch on the Noah Fant. 28.5 is a big number for tight ends. It's like people see an injury and they act like they discovered gold, right? Like the sports books don't know that these injuries are happening. That's a pass for me. But I actually like Jaylen Warren. 50 plus. I'm playing him in the alt line because I think his line is a boom or bust. It's floating around 47.5 for the consensus, but I like 50 plus for around even money. Jaylen Warren was one of those players that I was talking about that's not seeing a lot of pop, right? He is dead last in explosive run rate out of qualified running backs. That's 35 rushing attempts or more. But he's playing against a Bengals team that are third to last in yards before contact allowed to running back. What that means is the running backs are getting gaping holes before anyone's even touching them. I think that he'll be able to run well and successfully on this team that allows 135 plus rushing yards per game. It's funny, they set his line right at a season average, around 49. But I think this is the game where he has a big one. And if you're torn between the two, who do I play in fantasy? You're obviously playing Jaylen Warren, but who do I bet? Warren or Gainwell? I think you go with both. I think Gainwell can have a massive game on the ground. His number is around 23.5 as well.
Yeah, Gainwell, as I see here, 23.5, Chase Brown 44.5, and you mentioned Warren there at 48.5. And everyone thought that the Gainwell number was going to increase after that game that he had in London a few weeks ago, but Warren is truly the guy. I think that's a good call. By the way, the Steelers win total 9.5, AFC North minus 160. Why such a favorite? The Ravens are horrible. They've 1-5. And, certainly they're off to a really good start. Still a long way to go in the NFL. College, we're about halfway through. Okay, so the Rams take on Jacksonville in a game in London. And this is one of the lines of the week that I would say, Brad, that I'm just not really understanding here. So Jacksonville at home last week was +1 against, or -1 against Seattle. This week in London, the Rams are -3 against Jacksonville. I mean, do you think that the Rams are that much better than Seattle? I personally don't, but I found this line a little perplexing to me. Maybe I'm off on it.
No, I actually was asked this question yesterday, who I'd prefer to have the NFC between the Rams and Seattle, and I actually preferred Seattle. This line, I think, is just indicative of what's happened with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They brought in Liam Coleman. They expect this offense to kind of pop like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I think anyone who's adjusting their power ratings is seeing that the offense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when Liam Coleman was offensive coordinator, was so much driven by Baker Mayfield. Now you have the offense of the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is Trevor Lawrence. Like, this was an offense that couldn't even muster up 250 passing yards. I know there were some drop balls and some plays called back, but I don't even think it was going to get to the 280-yard mark last week. And it's not a good offense. What I'm also worried about is how Trevor Lawrence will do with pressure in his face. The Rams had a really off night with pressuring the quarterback in sacks. I think that changes in London.
Eagles take on the Vikings this week. We think it's going to be Carson Wentz at quarterback. Philly's a 2.5-point favorite, total of 43.5. Any opinion on this one?
Yeah, I think Philadelphia gets it right, and it's mainly because what does Philadelphia want to do? They want to run the ball. Minnesota Vikings are no longer the team that you fear when you're running against them. They're one of the worst rush defenses, especially in the EPA department in the NFL. And then the Eagles, they were gashed on the ground for over 170 rush yards against the Giants. That changes with Jalen Carter, who should be in the lineup, and I do believe they get pressure on Carson Wentz. Revenge narrative for Carson Wentz, but not happening. The Eagles win.
All right, final game on the board here, Brad. No matter what you say, you can't convince me otherwise. This is the historic bet in the National Football League. All signs to me point toward Tennessee. You got the coach getting fired, which usually that bump comes through all the time in the NFL. And then the Patriots are on their third straight road game. Oh my gosh, Titans +7, total 41.5. I'm here to tell you, I'm going to pick Tennessee on the money line here to win outright. I mean, this is just a spot deal for me, Brad. I can't look to anything except Tennessee. Anybody could tell me New England's going to win by 100. They may. I won't do it.
I don't care if New England wins by 100. You cannot take the Patriots and lay the 7 on the road in this situation. New coach bounces in any sport is one of the highest cover rates in any kind of scenario. Also, I think the Patriots are starting to become overvalued. You see that number creep from being a dog to 3.5, now to 7 in this game. I think the Tennessee Titans have a big response in this game. They also get Tajay Spears, who should help a lot in that running game with Tony Pollard.
All right, Brad, good luck this week. Thanks again.
Thanks. Have a great one.
We'll be right back. At some point this year, next year, states are going to ask for Kalshi to be taxed. And I think they're going to have to pay taxes if they continue to operate in this space. Specifically, the state of Pennsylvania is looking and saying, hey, our sports books are paying us tax money every month to do the same thing you guys are doing.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But Tua goes out there, my kids love me. I'm rich. I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, dude, the Dolphins press conferences make it way worse. If I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
This one's for you, Tommy Reynolds. I know you're a Rochester Americans guy, but the big team, the Buffalo Sabres, at home against the listless Rangers. Can we get +102? We can in overtime. Knockaroo does it again. Buffalo over the Rangers.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Big games in the NFL coming up this week. Our focus today is the AFC East. Panthers and Jets, Patriots and Titans, Dolphins and Browns. Let's start off with the New York Jets as we get ready for the SportsGrid sound-off. Let's get rolling with Aaron Glenn. He's been a big friend to us here in the SportsGrid Sound-Off, giving us content constantly. Believe it or not, this line has kind of gone back and forth. I think the Panthers may be favored, but the Jets had been favored most of the week. Boy, Aaron Glenn certainly has his hands full with this team. They're already 0 is it 6, Frank, or is it 5? I forget. 0-6. 0-6 for the New York Jets. My God. But they win against the spread, so we're not going to crush them for that. Here's Aaron Glenn previewing the game this week.
Every game presents different challenges. And when you game plan, you try to figure out what are the best things we can do for not just Justin, but for our team to have success. And there are some games where, man, the quarterback run game is going to be a huge part of it. There's other games where we don't think it's going to be a big part of it because of the way that they operate. And when you look at what they were doing, they were sending 2 from the side of a running back, which really takes the running back away and the quarterback away. So they did a good job of that. And we had some of them called. Just the way that they pressured, made him hand the ball off for the most part. So, and again, that's how every game's going to be. And we just have to continue to game plan and see how do we get each guy on our team, especially our skilled guys, getting them an opportunity to be successful. Yeah, here's what I do know is, and you're right, and I've said that and I still believe that. And I think that's for any quarterback, especially when you have man coverage to give a guy a chance. But I do know if something bad happens, you guys are going to be bitching about him, So the thing is, he just got to go out there and play quarterback and do the best that he can. But I don't come off that at all. When you're in man coverage, you got to give a guy a chance to go catch the ball.
All right, we'll see if the Jets show up this week. Likely they will. Likely they'll lose, but it'll be very close. They'll cover the spread. Patriots take on the Tennessee Titans. I mentioned the perfect storm before. This is Mike Vrabel's return to Tennessee for the first time since he was fired a couple of years ago. Wouldn't you know, the guy who replaced him got fired this week. Here's Vrabel going back to the place where he took the Tennessee Titans all the way through the AFC Championship on the opportunity now to return with the team that he used to play for and now coaches the New England Patriots.
I would say that we've done, we put ourselves in a position to play meaningful games. Not that they aren't all meaningful, but certainly focusing on this one on the road, our last one of 3 here. But and I appreciate us not looking too far ahead. They just attacked Buffalo, and they figured out what we needed to do against the Saints, and then we got back and got things cleaned up and tried to get some rest. And now, focusing on Tennessee and the challenge that presents, and seeing if we can't continue to enhance the things that we do well and improve the things that we're not doing well, and then eliminate the stuff that could or will or has gotten us beat.
Finally, the Cleveland Browns this week have a winnable game. They play against the 1-5 Miami Dolphins, 3-point favorites in Cleveland. By the way, weather reports are showing this could have an extreme effect on the game this week with rain and wind. No snow yet, though, in Cleveland. Dillon Gabriel probably has to play well, I would say, this week in this game, or else I think we're going to see the first of Shedeur Sanders next week. Here's Gabriel on the opportunity to get things right against Miami.
Yeah, my mom used to beat my ass when I was a kid, so I don't think anything will live up to it. My mom, no, I'm just playing around, but I'm good. It's part of football, you know what I mean? That's why you play it. We're good.
Help him get there.
Yeah, I think it's continuing our work together. I think Jerry's hardest on himself and wants to play at a level for us as a team, but also himself as well. But I don't think that's ever going to stop our approach. We believe in Jerry. Jerry believes in himself, and I think we're going to just continue to work at it. We got to. It's one of those things you got to work your way through. But I don't want to keep sounding mundane and saying the same thing, but it starts with me. And being able to help that connection, and of course just creating easy touches, and then the rest will come. But the confidence building for everyone is a part of it as well.
We got to take a quick break here on NewsWire. When we come back, we got Paul Stone in the house. We're going to break down the latest in all of college football. And if you want to track all of your bets this weekend, make sure you download the SportsGrid app because we have that option available to you. You can download it for both iOS and Android. The SportsGrid app also streaming our network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We'll be back with a whole lot more, including picks against the spread in college football this week with Paul Stone right after this. at some point this year, next year, states are going to ask for Kalshi to be taxed. And I think they're going to have to pay taxes if they continue to operate in this space. Specifically, the state of Pennsylvania is looking and saying, hey, our sports books are paying us tax money every month to do the same thing you guys are doing.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But Tua goes out there, my kids love me. I'm rich. I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, like, dude, like, the Dolphins press conferences make it way worse. Like, if I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
This one's for you, Tommy Reynolds. I know you're a Rochester Americans guy, but the big team, the Buffalo Sabres, at home against the listless Rangers. Can we get plus 102? We can in overtime. Snuggaroo does it again. Buffalo over the Rangers.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The great Paul Stone joins us now to review the latest in college football, some picks against the spread as well. Make sure you check out Paul at Paul Stone Sports online. And Paul, some great games, especially in the Southeastern Conference, as usual this week. One of the marquee games is Saturday night. We got 2 teams inside the top 15 squaring off, with Alabama taking on Tennessee. The Tide 8.5-point favorites. 58.5 total in this game. Boy, Tennessee not only beat Alabama last year, Paul, but they seem to play some squirrely games against the Tide over the last few years. What do you think happens in Tuscaloosa on Saturday?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Craig, these individual game handicaps often come down to matchups. And I really, in this particular game, like the matchup of Alabama first-year starting quarterback Ty Simpson against Tennessee's somewhat beleaguered pass defense. So Tennessee defense has played virtually the entire season without both of their starting cornerbacks, one of those being Jermod McCoy, who hasn't played yet this season. He's been projected as a first-round draft pick. And then Ricky Gibson, he played in the opener against Syracuse, but has not played since. Without those 2 guys, the Volunteers giving up an average of 277 passing yards a game against FBS competition. That ranks 118th out of 136 FBS teams, so not very good, 7.5 yards per attempt. You look at Ty Simpson, and he looked like a first-year starter in his first start of his career at Florida State. Of course, the Tide lost that opener in Tallahassee 31-17 to the Seminoles. But since then, I mean, Simpson's been as good as any quarterback, frankly, in the country. He's completed 76% of his throws, 111 of his 146 attempts, 9.8 yards per attempt, 14 touchdowns against just 1 interception. Tennessee, again, they just don't defend the pass that well. They're ranked number 11 in the AP poll, but they're slightly overrated at number 11. As you mentioned, Alabama lost in Knoxville last year to the Volunteers 24-17. I think Simpson and company make amends for that defeat one season ago. I like Alabama by double digits over the Volunteers.
And Alabama has dominated the series. Tennessee's kept it close the last couple of years, and Ty Simpson, arguably the best quarterback in the country going right now. 16 touchdowns, 1 interception, just phenomenal stuff from the Crimson Tide. All right, so an early game in Vanderbilt where the Commodores are coming off a bye week. Paul, they play LSU, one of the top defensive teams in the country. So something's got to give this week. I know Nussmeier hasn't really been the guy that they thought he would be, but of course Diego Pavia has been. He's been great, 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns. 48.5 the total in this game between these two teams. Who do you like in this one?
Well, I'm looking at the total really here, Craig, but I want to talk about just some interesting tidbits just real quickly here. I didn't even know we kept data on sports betting point spreads this far back, but I saw somewhere a reputable source. This is going to be the first time, if they close as the favorite, that Vanderbilt's been favored over LSU since way back in 1948. So it could be the first time they're favored over LSU in over 75 years. And then kind of hard to put your arms around this one because Vanderbilt had a good year last year. They've been good this year, but they still have been the underdog in 51 straight SEC games. So they are out to break that streak as well if they are favored indeed versus LSU, if they close as the favorite on Saturday. We talked about, or I talked about, and I'm sure I did on this program as well, LSU's likelihood to improve on defense this year because they did so much through the portal, picked up tons of guys, defensive end Patrick Payton from Florida State, Jack Pyburn from Florida, cornerback Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech, A.J. Halsey from Houston in the defensive backfield. Just a lot of guys that they've added. Those guys have blended so well with holdovers like Harold Perkins Jr., the Weeks brothers, the linebackers Witt and West Weeks. So just a tremendous blend. One of the very best defenses there in the nation for LSU. The numbers tell the story. I'm looking at the total again. Only one of their opponents to date, Ole Miss, has scored more than 10 points against the Bayou Bengals. Ole Miss defeated LSU 24-19 a few weeks back there in Oxford. LSU against 5 FBS foes this year, only allowing 12.2 points per game to rank 4th nationally in scoring defense. Predictably, in their 5 games against FBS opponents, 5 unders. So they're 5-0 to the under against FBS teams. And not only under, Craig, but under by at least 14 points a game in all 5 of those games. So they have sailed under the total. They've scored 20 points or less. Their offense somewhat limited. As you mentioned, Nussmeier struggled. Not many weapons, not much of a running game. LSU has scored 20 points or fewer in each of their 4 games versus Power 4 opposition this season. Vanderbilt, they've got a little under streak of their own going. 8 of their last 9 SEC games have gone under the total. I don't think either team, I think the winning team, I should say, I guess, not going to get any more than 24 points in my opinion. So I like the under 48.5, 48 in this game Saturday in Nashville.
All right, exciting game and under in that one. Now, here's one that we're going off the grid here a little bit, Paul. We got UConn taking on Boston College, and the Huskies, a doormat for a long time in college football, but not so much anymore. They're getting 1.5 points this week in what's expected to be a very high-scoring game at BC, Saturday, 12 o'clock Eastern. Who do you like between Connecticut and Boston College on Saturday?
Well, Craig, I tell you, on my appearances, we're not going to ignore these guys. The money's just as green in Stores and Chestnut Hill, as I like to say. So this is an interesting game here, and they're not part of this handicap, but Oklahoma State, inarguably the worst Power 4 team this season. I don't think there's much question about that. But one could make the argument, and I will, that Boston College has the second worst power rating among Power 4 schools at the present. They did win their opener against a fairly weak FCS team, Fordham, beat the Rams 66-10. But since then, they've lost their last 5 games to Power 4 opponents. They've lost their last 2 games to Pitt and Clemson by a combined 72 points. So they're not playing well. And now, right smack dab in the middle of their ACC schedule, they have to face an independent in Connecticut. And while UConn might not register very high on BC's radar, the Huskies would like nothing more than to knock off their big brother, their neighbor about 85 miles to the northeast. This game means something to UConn. UConn last year, they played one possession games, had one possession losses at both Duke and Syracuse, a pair of pretty good ACC teams that both played in bowl games. I think they're going to get the job done Saturday in Chestnut Hill. I look for UConn to beat BC. Give me the Huskies +2 over the Eagles.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. You get to this time of the year, Paul, and you start talking about bowl season and teams that are looking toward that, qualifying for that as well. When you look at some of the teams in college football this season, Paul, it seems very similar to me than it has in years past, with the exception of now having to challenge for that college football playoff. As we move forward, we've seen some changes in college football. We've seen some teams basically fire their coaches. Has it been anything different for you this year in seeing guys like, Trent Dilfer and James Franklin, and we had a couple of firings earlier in the season? Feels like teams can't wait till November to make the big calls because they still want to take these bowl games and the college football playoff seriously.
Yeah, I think as much as anything too, Craig, they want to get first in line. They want to let the agents and the coaches that might be interested in coming to their program know that job is available. So I think the way that programs respond now, I mean, it's just unreasonable. I know that James Franklin lost all the big games there at State College, couldn't beat top 5, top 10 teams. And maybe, the criticism's fair, and maybe he needed to be terminated at the end of the season. But it's just what have you done for me lately business. It's a tough racket, and certainly it makes our job challenging as handicappers.
Thanks, Paul. Have a great week.
Hey, same to you guys. Appreciate you having me.
At some point next year, states are going to ask for Kalshi to be taxed. And I think they're going to have to pay taxes if they continue to operate in this space. Specifically, the state of Pennsylvania is looking and saying, hey, our sports books are paying us tax money every month to do the same thing you guys are doing.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But Tua goes out there, my kids love me. I'm rich. I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, the Dolphins press conferences make it way worse. If I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
This one's for you, Tommy Reynolds. I know you're a Rochester Americans guy, but the big team, the Buffalo Sabres, at home against the listless Rangers. Can we get +102? We can in overtime. Knockaroo does it again. Buffalo over the Rangers.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We're waking up Donnie Rightside again in the middle of his midday nap before he's got to check out the baseball games tonight. We're keeping him up, Donnie. We're getting ready for tonight's baseball games. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Love it. Can't wait. Doubleheader, Major League Baseball, a little NFL action tonight. Good time here, Craig. No doubt about it.
Yeah, so let's take a look here. And I think a bit of a surprise to see the Blue Jays not just win the game, but hammer the Mariners last night in Seattle. This is what should have been going on in Toronto, and it wasn't. Springer with 3 hits, Guerrero with 4 hits, Kirk with a couple of hits and a home run. And George Kirby, one of the worst starts he's had in a really long time. And now all of a sudden the Blue Jays are, back in the series 2-1. I still think they probably have to win the next game in Seattle, Donnie. I don't think you can go down 3-1 and win a series, but at least they've made the statement it's not over.
I was impressed last night because the one thing you can't do, Craig, you know as well as I do, that is an absolute powder keg that was ready to explode for the Mariners, and they get a 2-run home run in the bottom of the first inning. A lot of credit to the Blue Jays. Maybe if they weren't a tough a team as they are, you sort of tuck tail up. Just wasn't our season there. We beat the Yankees. That's good enough. They hammered the baseball from the third inning on. Good for them. We'll see if that continues tonight, and that line certainly is interesting.
It definitely is. And the Mariners, by the way, after doing what they did yesterday, just defensively and from a pitching perspective, kind of hard to bounce back from, as you see there with Springer, Guerrero, and Kirk all popping off last night. So tonight at 8:33 Eastern, they'll do it again, and old buddy Max Scherzer making a American League Championship Series start for the Blue Jays. Total 7.5. Luis Castillo, one of the better pitchers, and they've got a lot of them on Seattle. You could see the Mariners still a favorite here, -138. So that's not like a -170, Donnie, or anything like that, but that's a pretty big number for a postseason game. Do you think that Scherzer shows up big tonight in what could be arguably his last postseason start ever? You don't know.
I don't. And by the way, you take a look at the line, Craig. That -144 is overnight. You see the graphic was at -138. Live now, we're down to the -120s. I can't figure it out. We're not getting Max Scherzer of 2015 on the mound tonight. Like, we're getting the worst version of Max Scherzer. Did you know since August, his ERA, Craig, 5.44, xFIP number 5.00. They gave him rest just to try to save his arm to have enough bullets tonight to get through 3 or 4 innings. So the handicapper in me is like, you know what? Seattle should be an easy one. But the honest handicapper in me going like, wait a second. Why is this line not 144 or higher, and why is it down into the 120s right now? But I do like the same as I did last night. They got pounded. Talking about the Mariners, Craig, the team total for the Mariners is 3.5. If they can't get a couple runs off Scherzer early and tackle in that bullpen, I don't know what to tell you. The Mariners should win this game, but boy, is that a puzzling line the way it's moving right now, Craig.
Agreed. And Castillo, by the way, usually dominant in big spots like this. To win the ALCS, let's be honest, Seattle's still a huge favorite, -270, and the total is still 5.5. So the odds makers are telling us this is still Seattle's series to lose. They'd have to blow it to do so. Tonight, the Brewers season probably on the line. I don't think anybody would argue that. A 6:08 Eastern start with the Dodgers having Tyler Glasnow take on what looks like it's probably going to be Jacob Misiorowski, although nothing official. I mean, look, could the Brewers, Donnie, do? I mean, this does not feel the same as the American League, Like, I feel like that could, battle back here a little back and forth, but Dodgers -190 tonight against the Brewers to take a 3-0 lead.
I mean, it's crazy what the Dodgers are doing with their starting pitcher. Like, the equivalent would be, Craig, like Tarek Skubal's pitching every single night for the Dodgers in the playoffs. That's what you're getting right now, and Tyler Glasnow's back out there. What have you shown from the Milwaukee Brewers over games 1 and 2 that they can hit really good starting pitching and now in a true pitcher's ballpark? I can't find it. Understand this. The opening number, and you also saw in that graphic, was 7.5. Some outlets, Craig, have moved to 8 runs. The one thing that always makes me a little bit crazy is typically in the summer, right? You take a look at a home game on a Sunday afternoon. It's a 1 o'clock local time. You don't have to worry about the shadows. Or you're starting at 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. There's no shadows there. This game starts 3:08 on the West Coast, which means by the time, Craig, we get to 4:30 and 5 o'clock, after the starting pitchers are out, the bullpens are going to come in and have that advantage of having the cover of some of those shadows. So for me, I look at the line, and I agree with it. The heavy favorite should be the Dodgers. But my favorite thing is, I don't think we're getting 9 runs tonight. Give me the 8, which is available right now.
Yeah, fair enough. Snell and Yamamoto, by the way, have been absolutely fantastic.
Filthy.
And it's a good point, Donnie. Every pitcher looks like an ace pitching for the Dodgers right now. 3 months ago, I was on your show probably saying they don't have any pitching, I mean, this is how it works in baseball toward the end of the season. Also, Christian Yelich, by the way, in the NLCS, having a tough time of it, 0 for 12 with 5 strikeouts. The Brewers bats absolutely have to get going. Funny moment, by the way, in the press conference yesterday. Here is Pat Murphy's son, Austin Murphy, on the outcome of the game.
Actually, this question is for Austin.
Go, Austin.
Everybody hears your dad talking all the time. So based on your inside knowledge of the Brewers, what do they have to do to get out of this 2-0 deficit they're facing?
Just stick with it and keep battling through it. I think they can do it. And, yeah, I believe they can do it.
What makes you believe?
Well, the guys respond back really good. Like, started the season 0-4, what those games were not good, but then they responded with the best record in baseball, so I believe they can do it.
Great stuff there, Donnie, right? We got to watch out for our jobs here, you know?
By the way, good on that, because I think Pat was probably looking over saying, don't say something now that we can't win the series or our best players aren't playing well, they have to play better. That kid answered it exactly the way he was supposed to answer it. Credit to the kid.
All right. National League Championship Series, Dodgers are just such big favorites. This is really just not bettable at this point. I don't think anything. Maybe, I mean, there is plus 200s and 500s and minus 600s. I can't find anything on that board that I like, except for maybe if you took a stab at Milwaukee coming back and getting the Dodgers in 7 games at plus, it's not on the board there, but I think it's like plus 300, something like that. Okay, so to win the World Series, Donnie, by this time next week, we're going to have a lot more clarity when I see you next. Dodgers are minus 165. Seattle still right there. Toronto plus 700. Milwaukee plus 1,700. So I'm going to ask you, even if you would consider any of the first, I can't ask you to take Milwaukee, but if I can ask you to take one of those first 3 outside of LA, would you be willing to do it, or are we just going to find a football game instead?
I mean, you probably should find a football game. Like, the Dodgers are just so good that you look at that roster and say, like, who do you want to bet? Who do you want to light your money on fire with? That's probably the best option. Take the best odds out there and deal with it. It's the Dodgers.
All right, Donnie, enjoy the baseball and football this weekend, and you're going to have to get your NBA hat on also for next week, too. Going to be very busy around here. Thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.
No problem, Craig. See you later, man. Appreciate it.
Donnie Rightside of the Early Line with us here on NewsWire. When we come back next, we check in with our friends at Front Office Sports here at SportsGrid. We'll be right back after this.
The best part about it is that they're just going about handling their business. I was listening to Arvell Reese and his literally like 5-word sentences about himself and some of the things that Caleb has been talking about. The dudes are just so locked in here about just doing their job and not worrying about all the other things and awards. They know all those happen when you go win and you win decisively.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Baker Mayfield is the most important player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are in first place right now, looking dead in the eye of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They played a bad division. They're going to win a lot of games, and they're the best fourth quarter team, or at least the 2-minute warning team in all football. So, don't sleep on that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Awesome and monumentous win against Oregon. Texas has saved their season. Texas has given themselves life to potentially crash the college football playoff party. For OU, a loss to Texas shouldn't be the end of your season. And yet with that remaining schedule, it feels like it could be. Books certainly pricing it that way. A lot of movement off of the Red River rivalry.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin? Who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we continue on, a reminder that the NBA season begins next week, and we're going to have plenty of coverage talking about everything going on in the games. And I know the broadcast has been a very big part of that, but there's also another subject that's going around right now in the National Basketball Association, and that is, of course, the lawsuits that are involving the Knicks and the Raptors with Matt Ishbia and some other lawsuits as well. That are going on in the NBA. So the bottom line is that sort of a cloud hanging over the start of the season just to kind of get these going and get them figured out. Some internal investigations with some data being shared to other teams as well. So our friends at Front Office Sports are going to try and clear this cloud up here a little bit for us and tell us what these lawsuits actually entail and if they'll get resolved in time for the start of the season.
Well, the Knicks and the Raptors have dropped a lawsuit alleging that Toronto had used a newly hired video assistant to steal scouting reports. This of all proprietary information that was still happening while he was employed with the Knicks. So for more on this, let's bring in the Asset Class newsletter author, Ben Horney. Ben, good to see you as always. So tell us a little bit more about this. This is a really interesting story.
So this suit was first filed in, I believe it was August 2023. So it's been going on for a while. It was pretty contentious. It's notable, and we'll get into this, it's rare for NBA teams to sue each other like this, and yet we're here to have a whole discussion about multiple lawsuits involving teams. This video assistant who worked for the Knicks got hired by the Raptors, and the Knicks sued in federal court saying that while he was still working for the Knicks but knew he was going to the Raptors, he took all of this information to give the Raptors an advantage. The thing that is strange about this is that the NBA has an arbitration thing, a whole policy to hear disputes like this. So it was like out of bounds, so to speak, that they took this to court.
Okay. Well, it is wild because we do have less than a week until the NBA season tips off for the regular season, and a number of lawsuits kind of working their way through, getting sorted, including the Trailblazers, as we saw the Portland Fire and Thorns owners that actually filed a lawsuit against the minority owners that were involved in buying the Trailblazers. What led to the resolution of this lawsuit getting dropped?
So from what we know, Tom Dundon, who also owns the NHL team, the Carolina Hurricanes, he facilitated a deal to get this lawsuit resolved. We don't know what the specifics are or the details. It's still unclear whether the Churn family, which is the family behind Panda Express, whether they're still going to be in his deal or not. That was the dispute. It was that the Raj Sports wanted them not to be involved because Raj said that they had their own bid for the Blazers that ultimately failed, and they were supposed to work with that family. So it's not clear, and we would say that, the NBA season's starting, so the league is kind of pushing them to resolve all the lawsuits, but then there's another lawsuit, and it's not dismissed.
Yeah, and let's move to Phoenix. Obviously, there's been multiple lawsuits filed against the Suns, and Matt Ishbia, the owner there. He had said at one point that these lawsuits were cash grabs, but now he's countersuing here.
So there's been a number of suits, like you said, from former employees alleging that the work environment isn't great. This was different. This was two minority owners, the two lingering minority owners who didn't cash out when he bought the team for $4 billion a few years ago. They sued him in Delaware, saying that they haven't been transparent, they haven't provided information about what they're using money for. It all seems to center around a capital call that he was making, raising additional funds for the team, and these two investors didn't want to pay for that. Matt Ishbia countersued them this week and basically says that it's just like sour grapes on their end, that they don't want to put further money into the team, that he's put all this money in, he's made bold trades, and the Suns' play on the court hasn't reflected, what he's saying, but it is true that he has made bold trades, he has made big moves, and he has put a lot of money into the team. An attorney for the two minority owners had a pretty strongly worded statement to me, though, that basically says he's playing a delay tactic here, and that ultimately, that they will win.
And I know, Ben, that people can get all these great updates in your Asset Class newsletter that drops twice a week, but more exciting news around the Asset Class. We're taking it tomorrow, Thursday, the 16th. It's going to be a live event at the New York Stock Exchange. Tell us more about what people can expect.
Yeah, that's right. We're bringing the newsletter to life, which is always interesting. It's words on a page or on a screen. But tomorrow at the New York Stock Exchange, we're going to be it's a half-day event from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. or so. We have a ton of really great guests. We have the owner of the New York Islanders, John Ledecky. We have a former Knicks president, Dave Checketts, who's now in private equity. We have David Adelman, who's part owner of the 76ers and the New Jersey Devils. We have people from Chernin Group, Andalusian Credit, the global co-head of sports for Goldman Sachs. It's going to be awesome. I'm sure that the news will be broken, and it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, that's of course with Front Office Sports and Dealmaker. This will be happening on Thursday, as Renee mentioned. The best part will be ringing and the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange.
That's right.
As well.
Can't wait.
Of course, you can get more information about the Asset Class event over at frontofficesports.com. Then.
the best part about it is that they're just going about handling their business. I was listening to Arvell Reason is literally like 5-word sentences about himself and some of the things that Caleb has been talking about. The dudes are just so locked in here about just doing their job and not worrying about all the other things and awards. They know all those happen when you go win and you win decisively.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Baker Mayfield is the most important player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are in first place right now, looking dead in the eye of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They played a bad division. They're going to win a lot of games, and they're the best fourth quarter team, or at least the 2-minute warning team in all football. So, don't sleep on that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Awesome and monumentous win against Oregon. Texas has saved their season. Texas has given themselves life to potentially crash the college football playoff party. For OU, a loss to Texas shouldn't be the end of your season. And yet with that remaining schedule, it feels like it could be. Books certainly pricing it that way. A lot of movement off of the Red River rivalry.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin? Who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. It's another week of NFL picks with Brady Cannon. The, of course, Super Contest is on deck, and so is the Contest Show coming up this weekend. You can catch Brady and James Salinas and Mike Pritchard here on SportsGrid as well. I know it's going to be a mixed bag, I think, talking to Brady. I have a feeling this week as we get into the week because Super Contest alive and well, but something else didn't exactly go their way. We'll get into that in a minute. Brady, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And wouldn't you know, the Super Contest and the consensus picks actually came through this past week. I think Seattle was the most picked game of the season by everybody, and that actually won.
Yeah, on the road as a road favorite at Jacksonville. Yeah, finally the consensus showed up for the Super Contest, 4-1. But they continue to struggle in the Circa Sports Million, another week of 2-3, and that's just fine with us. We are at exactly 500 in both the Circa Sports Million and the Westgate Super Contest. We had 3 straight weeks of 2-3, and now we've put together 3 straight weeks of 3-2. So, hey, maybe next it's 3 straight weeks of 4-1. We'll take that. But, at 500, we are well ahead of the curve, and we're feeling, just fine. We're obviously not at the top of the leaderboard, but we are in the top half of the competition because, we've talked about the consensus here on this show. This is the first week in one of the contests where they've had a really good week, but still, overall, in the 2 big against the spread contests in town, the overall consensus is 20, 39, and 1. That's 34%. So we're obviously hitting 50%. We're well ahead of the majority, which is a good thing. Yeah. We hope to keep it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, because if you can get to 52, 53% in the next couple of weeks, all of a sudden you're in the top 50, top 100, you're getting closer to cashing. That's the dynamic, though, of picking games in the NFL. So it's easier said than done. So we're on to week 7 here, and I know that, Brady, the one thing that is not going to be in your favor the rest of the season is the Survivor, right? Like, I don't know. How did you feel about it? I know you guys got knocked out. So how do you feel about Survivor? Do you think that you guys should have, employed different strategy? Do you think that something else was in play this season? I know every year is different. And honestly, getting to week 6 or week 7 in the NFL is a good job anyway. But if you had to do it all over again, which is the easy thing to talk about in sports betting, how would you have approached it?
Yeah, good question. And I look at the bright side here. Last week we were eliminated. It was a record-breaking rate of elimination last year in Circa Survivor, and we were out after week 2, like a lot of people. Well, we did 2.5 times better this year. So if we do 2.5 times better next year, we'll probably be somewhere around Thanksgiving, and that's a point where you can start to look to monetize your ticket, because your ticket, the inherent value of your ticket, becomes worth quite a bit if you can make it to Thanksgiving. Now, the second part of your question there, what would I do differently? I think maybe, like, we do 3 entries as a part of our show. I think maybe with one of those entries, maybe 2 of the 3, rather than thinking too much about Thanksgiving and Christmas and those individual weeks that Circa makes you choose separate from the full card portion of those weeks in the season, you just try and survive in advance. Like the Detroit Lions in week 5 played the Cincinnati Bengals, and it was a free square. Now, we didn't use the Lions because they play on both Thanksgiving and Christmas. And even looking at those games, I probably, if I was still around, we don't know what's going to happen 6-8 weeks from now. But the Lions were not a team that I was figuring on using for either of the holidays. So, but again, I think part of your strategy has to be having as much possible options available during those 2 holidays as possible. And so we stayed away from, we were saving teams. And maybe next year it's like, you know what, guys, we've got to have at least 1 or 2 tickets where screw the saving teams. We just got to survive. We just got to move on. And it doesn't matter who we pick. We got to pick a winner. So I think that might be part of the strategy next year.
Yeah, I think personally, if I was looking back on your card and I didn't go through it, and certainly it's easier said than done, I would have been knocked out just like you guys. I think if I had 3 entries, that I would take 1 and just free square it until I'm out. And then at least, and then now you're struggling this week to pick a team, fair, but you're still alive, And I think
that's right.
There was, as you said, Buffalo was one of those weeks a few weeks ago too, where they eked out. I mean, it's very difficult. And by the way, Thursday night, a lot of people probably took the Rams. Monday night, Commanders. Like, there was a ton of upsets over the weekend, and it was really hard to get through. But as we see, only 4,000 people are left as we go into week 7. The carnage was not this past week. It was the week before.
Exactly. Yeah. Week 5 was the big one. Took out nearly 8,000 people. 75% of the pool was gone after 5 weeks in NFL 2025. And up until then, there hadn't been a whole lot of damage, but that was the biggie, and that took us out. We were out the week before with 1 entry when the Chargers lost at New York. And then we had 2 remaining entries, 1 on the Bills, lost to the Patriots, 1 on the Cardinals in just an absolutely crazy loss to the Titans of all teams. And that eliminated over 3,000 people. And then you mentioned the Rams. Yeah, the Rams were actually the most popular selection that lost to the 49ers on that Thursday night game. That was over 3,500 entries. So, at least it wasn't like some stupid game that took us out. We were kind of right there with everybody else that got taken out in week 5. But, like we talked about, some lessons learned. We did a lot better than we did last year. Hopefully we'll improve upon it next year. And I'm with you. I think on at least 1 ticket, you can't worry about the holidays. You just gotta try and pick a winner.
Yeah. How's college going in those contests? We haven't caught up on that in a few weeks.
Yeah, we're doing okay. We don't have an entry with our show because our show we record on Fridays, and the timing of when your picks are due for the college contest, it doesn't work out. I know our mutual friend Paul Stone has a number of entries in the college football super contest. I'm not sure how he's doing. I don't know what his team name is. We'll have to find out from him. But I do have an entry. It's kind of similar to our NFL contests. We're ahead of the curve. Nothing crazy, but we're above average, and just hoping to keep plodding along here. The thing with the college that's different is I think there's only about 7 weeks left, 7 or 8. It's a shorter season, so you got to make a move here pretty quick. And I'll be talking with my teammates this week. For everybody out there that's playing in a contest like this, now's the time if you're behind where you may want to start taking some chances.
Let's take a look at one game, and then we'll review the rest when we come back from the break. Brady Cannon here with us on SportsGrid. So This is a line flip from where it was earlier in the week, Brady. The Jets were favored, I think, to open the game, and now Carolina is at -1.5. One of the lower totals on the board, 42.5 as well. And the Jets are so bad that you can actually bet when they win their next game. It's sort of pathetic to even see the odds makers have this out there.
Well,
I mean, I don't believe
week.
You got the Jets.
Yes, and I think the Jets are a prime candidate in a teaser, and I know you can't use that in a contest or anything like that, but teasing them to 7.5, 8 points, that's what I did. But I actually think they'll win this game outright. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, the Panthers as a road favorite. Come on, this is the Panthers, and I know this is the Jets, but it's worked once this year so far, and this has been a trend that works and has worked for a long, long time. And you know how trends are, Craig. Some of them are just trends and they're completely random. I think this one makes a ton of sense because it skews the market. Public perception is tweaked, and you end up getting an inflated number and a discount on the dog and what have you. I think there's a lot of ways you could analyze this trend, but it is for real. And that is when a home underdog wins outright, and then the next week they go into the role of road favorite. Doesn't work out well for that team. That team this week is the Carolina Panthers.
By the way, you can get plus money on the Jets' first win and better odds on beating the Panthers at +110 on FanDuel. Look at that. I don't know that I have the stones to do
Go
that.
Jets,
they play the
Craig.
Bengals
Come
and then the
on.
Browns.
Come on.
I can't do it, man. I can't do it. We'll be right
Frank
back.
says they lose. That means they win.
$20 million too much as far as I'm concerned, but it's not like you're indebted to him or you have to follow through with him. Like, what are we doing? Try to win the damn game by bringing in a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the loyalty to Fields is here and why you thought he gave you the best shot at winning that game without going to the bench.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully these go better. I'm smashed before one on these games. I cannot believe that this game destroyed me. I can. Why did I get involved live? That's on me, not
That
you.
is on you.
All right.
That's on you.
You didn't have to run up the score. I said it was on me.
It was on you.
All right.
You just didn't see the writing on the wall. Knee it! Let's get out of Dodge!
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Can I get an ISO? Come on. Give me the ISO over here.
Give
right
him the
here.
ISO. He wants the camera.
Look, I'm going to get nice and comfortable right now. I've been telling you people out there, yes, you people, about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. My connection to the Irish growing up as a kid. I hated that team. But they called me at the network the most unbiased man here, which means I'm giving you the information straight from the mouth here. You don't have to go anywhere. You get it from me.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I think Kendra Miller's role continues to grow in this offense. So I think as you're looking at bye weeks continuing on and looking for running back depth, as always, we all know the dynamic can change in a minute, right? We've done this so many times in the last couple of weeks. We were adding Woody Marks before his game. We were adding Brashard Smith last week. I still want to add Brashard Smith this week. I want to add the guys that I think have upside for the second half, and Kendra Miller is definitely one of those backs.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Brady Cannon with me here. We're going to break down a few games and then let Brady get to business on his contest show, which you'll be able to hear exclusively here on SportsGrid. If you guys don't mind here, I want to sell Brady on my pick this week. So bring up that Patriots-Titans game, Luke, if you have that one, and then I'll do the other two here. So Brady, what am I missing on this one? You have, as we've talked about for a million years on SportsGrid, the biggest coaching bump in sports when the NFL coach gets fired. You got it this week with the Titans. You got the third straight road game for the Patriots at Tennessee. I know this line has crashed down from 8 to 7, total 41.5. This is, I may lose, but this has got to be one that I just close my eyes and hit the button on the Titans, no matter who they play. It feels like this is the best spot of the season for any team.
Well, I agree with you. And, you put on top of that the fact that it's the third straight road game for New England. And that's an added bonus for the fired coach theory there. And I'll give you another one, a trend that's, been good for years is a home dog getting a full 7 points. That typically over the course of the history of the NFL covers about 60% of the time. So, no, I could only take that side. And, there's the Mike Vrabel returning home thing. I'm sure he's got a little something inside up his sleeve that he wants to, I told you so. You never should have gotten rid of me, that type of thing. But I think what you're going to see, I have a feeling these players were not really thrilled with this management staff, with this coaching staff. And I think they're going to show up in a big way because the mentality is, we want to show the world that it wasn't our fault, okay? And whether it was or not, that's the way the players are going to think that, hey, our coach is gone and we're going to show everybody it wasn't us, it was him. We got rid of the cancer in the room and now we're going to go win a ball game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Craig, I'd be with you taking the 7. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if they won either. And that's just a part of that is teams that cover the spread in the NFL, most of them win, like 85%, meaning favorites when they win, they cover, and dogs when they cover, they win outright.
Yeah, it was. Part of it, I think, was Jeffrey Simmons in the locker room after last week's game saying, "I thought we were going to lose because we had a bad week of practice." I mean, at that point, I knew they were going to fire Callahan. At that point, I knew that he was done. Okay, so. Now, here's a game where I probably look to the favorite here just because, Brady, I think the Saints can cover some games at home here. I still think they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're on the road at Chicago. I think the line is going to scare a lot of people off. Bears minus 5.5, total 46.5. Saints, yes, they're a little scrappy, but scrappy in that dome. I just can't trust them outside of it. Not that I love the Bears, by the way, either, but that's just my opinion on it.
I think you hit it 100%, Craig. I'm with you. I think the Saints are a scrappy team and they're a tough out, just like we saw last week against the Patriots. They nearly covered that game, probably should have covered that game, but that's at home. And this team is, I think, not nearly as protected, just doesn't have as much support on the road. They're kind of just, being let hang to dry out there. Now, the Bears, I was on the Bears on Monday night. I was a little bit surprised that they won outright. They have not been nearly as good on the road. They're a much better team at home. And I agree with you, what you say as well, that some people are probably a little bit scared. The Bears laying 5 or 5.5, boy, that's shaky. But yeah, I'd probably have to go to the favorite here. Now, when I crunch all my numbers, I come to Bears minus 3.5. It's probably a stay away game for me, but if I had to play it, I'd be with you. I agree that I think the favorite is probably the right way to go here.
Okay. I need you on this last one. I got no opinion of this. This is Green Bay at Arizona, 4:25 Eastern. It feels like, and I'm going to touch on this, Brady, when you're after the show with Jonathan Gannon. Boy, doesn't it feel like this guy is a little hot under the collar here with what's gone on the last couple of weeks with the DeMercado incident, and then his press conference was really odd yesterday, and he's not really giving long answers anymore at this stuff. They're getting 6.5. Is Kyler Murray playing in this game? I'm not even positive. The line tells me no. Green Bay minus 6.5, total 44.5 on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the line is telling us that Murray is not likely to play, and that's what I'm believing. And it feels like I did all my number crunch here, and I came out Packers minus 4. So is the downgrade to Jacoby Brissett, is that 2.5 points? Yeah, it might be more than that. Kyler Murray is obviously a big bonus for this team. He's able to use his legs. I know he makes some mistakes as well, but how much more points is he worth than Jacoby Brissett? It might be 4, but I did all my numbers without any adjustment, because that's more of a guessing game for me. Again, I came out to Green Bay 4. So seeing this line at 6 or 6.5, I believe the odds makers are saying, yeah, it's not going to be Murray. And I believe that's probably correct. As far as Gannon, I don't know if I can blame the guy for being a little curt and upset. You know, the DeMarcado thing was ridiculous. I mean,
it was. Yeah.
He needs to get a hold of this team, because they should be better. They're actually not that bad in the numbers. When you crunch some of the numbers, they're a pretty average team, but I think they're underachieving. And I don't think it's necessarily his fault. It's going to be his responsibility to get the most out of his players. But I think Murray, his attitude, I think he tends to quit. The DeMarcado thing. I mean, there's some problems, I believe, internally that he needs to get right.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin your show, but is there any game of the week that you guys will be focusing in on? I'm sure you already have decided which games you're picking for the contest or not. I'm kind of curious behind the scenes which games those are that you're at least focused on.
Well, we have not decided. We have our meeting on Thursday night, right around halftime of the Thursday night football game. I would imagine the Patriots and the Titans are absolutely going to be up for discussion.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm going to advocate for the Washington Commanders. Dan Quinn is a magician, along with Cliff Kingsbury, when playing games in division. I think they dust the Cowboys on Sunday in Dallas. So I'll be advocating for the Commanders. I'll probably, throw the Titans out there as a possibility as well and see if they bite, Craig.
Yeah, I do love that pick with Washington also. Feels like this is the first time that Dallas is not heavily slanted in a game this whole season. All right, thanks again, Brady. Appreciate it.
$20 million too much as far as I'm concerned, but it's not like you're indebted to him or you have to follow through with him. Like, what are we doing? Try to win the damn game by bringing in a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the loyalty to Fields is here and why you thought he gave you the best shot at winning that game without going to the bench.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully these go better. I'm smashed before one on these games. I cannot believe that this game destroyed me. I can. Why did I get involved live? That's on me. Not
that is on you.
All right.
That's on you.
You didn't have to run up the score. I said it was on me.
It was on you.
Right.
You just didn't see the writing on the wall. Knee it! Let's get out of Dodge.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Can I get an ISO? Come on. Give me the ISO over here.
Give me the ISO. He wants the camera.
Look, I'm going to get nice and comfortable right now. I've been telling you people out there, yes, you people, about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. My connection to the Irish growing up as a kid. I hated that team. But they called me at the network the most unbiased man here, which means I'm giving you the information straight from the mouth here. You don't have to go anywhere. You get it from me.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I think Kendra Miller's role continues to grow in this offense. So I think as you're looking at bye weeks continuing on and looking for running back depth, as always, we all know the dynamic can change in a minute, right? We've done this so many times in the last couple of weeks. We were adding Woody Marks before his game. We were adding Brashard Smith last week. I still want to add Brashard Smith this week. I want to add the guys that I think have upside for the second half, and Kendra Miller is definitely one of those backs.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Some big news in hockey on the mascot front. Hey, you tuned in the entire show. Stick with me to the end here. You know how we do it at the end. Also, a pretty strong statement from South Carolina's head basketball coach, as well as getting into the latest with the Arizona Cardinals. It's time now for some last licks. It's been a tough couple of weeks for that guy. You probably, honestly, if you don't follow the NFL very closely, even from watching shows like this, you may have no idea who the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals is. And I think that would be fair. His name is Jonathan Gannon. He's got a lot of history in college football and also pro football as well as coaching. Remember, he was with the Eagles and then ended up getting this job. It's been a tough couple of weeks for him. He had a player toss the ball up before running into the end zone. Then he went after him on the sidelines, got a little too close, got fined for that altercation. And then yesterday was asked a very specific question about losing a quarterback for odd reasons in the NFL, and if he had any recollection of that. Fortunately, Gannon had some experience with it. Take a listen.
Coach, how early in your career did you have to start trying to figure out how to take the emotion out of coaching, as far as when you have all these injuries and you have all these different pieces? When's the first time that you can recall that?
2007, when our quarterback went to jail.
Coach, thank you.
All right, heck of a way to end the press conference there. We were alluding to Michael Vick with the Atlanta Falcons and the whole dogfighting thing. Vick did make amends. He ended up continuing his career, actually played very well with the Philadelphia Eagles down the line as well. Let's just keep it real. Jonathan Gannon is feeling it right now. It's been tough for him. They're losing games. He's got injuries. His players don't know how to hang on to the ball. Can he survive this? I don't know. If they get blown out this week, could be some changes, I think, in Arizona. Unfortunately for him, I mean, Cliff Kingsbury wasn't much better as far as the coaching is concerned, but I thought the results would be better for the Cardinals this season. I did. A very big statement made yesterday by the head coach of South Carolina basketball, Dawn Staley. Very popular and excellent coach at the collegiate level. She made a comment to the media yesterday that the NBA is not ready for a female head coach and says that she doubts it will happen in her lifetime. She's a 6-time WNBA All-Star, Olympic gold medalist. She's also a Hall of Famer. Now, you got to remember the NBA at this point has hired assistant coaches. Becky Hammon comes to mind in the National Basketball Association. So I kind of think that Dawn Staley, all she's doing right here is pushing the narrative a little bit to get this done. I am going to disagree. Now, Dawn Staley, I don't know how old she is. I'm going to guess she's in her 30s or 40s. So that's in the next 30 or 40 or 50 years, she says that no woman is going to be a head coach in the NBA. I disagree. But I think that what she was doing was smart, is she's pushing it along to try and make it happen. Frank, our producer, says she also interviewed for head coach of the New York Knicks. I think Dawn is wrong, but I think what she's doing is right. She's reminding people it still hasn't happened, and she would gladly be wrong just to make this statement, I think. Utah's hockey team made its debut at home last night, and they have a new mascot. This is what you've all been waiting for at 1:28 Eastern on a Thursday for us to debut the new mascot of the Utah hockey team, the Mammoth. And here it is. Congratulations. Utah's got a new mascot there. The Mammoth made his or her debut on the ice. And listen, we do very little hockey here on the show. Like, all we do is mascots and giveaways. I don't think we've done a single result of the National Hockey League since they've gone underway in the last couple of weeks. Kind of sad here. Tusky the Mammoth on board. Get your t-shirts and bobbleheads and plush dolls now. Tusky the Mammoth. Okay, that will do it for our show today. Good time to end, I think. Thanks to Brad Thomas for coming on the show. Also Brady Cannon and Donnie Rightside, and of course Paul Stone for breaking down the college football games as well. Of course, thanks to our director Luke, and for my producer Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Boy, do we have fun this weekend. Tonight, you've got the National Football League game on Prime. You've got 2 baseball games and hockey. And then next week, you've got it all with the NBA back as well. This is a great time to hang with us here at SportsGrid. And I always say, while you're watching our shows in the evening, whether it's Game Time Decisions or In-Game Live, I'm not going to lie, you're watching the games. Make us your second screen for those of you who are betting on the games as well. Hope you do. See you back here for a Friday edition of NewsWire. Same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone.